Hello, 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 my friends. Long time no see. It's summer. I know we have what do we have? We have 10 days actually before actual summer shows up, but it's summer here in Middle Tennessee. And the weather is gorgeous. I've been at the pool. My hair is getting blonder. I'm getting a tan. Um, all is well. All is right. Um, Wow, absence makes the heart grow fonder. I have missed all of you and I've missed doing this, and I almost feel like, wow, do I even know what I'm doing anymore? We'll see, I guess, as the half hour progresses. Um, how are you? Let me know that you're here in the comments. I got to get myself to, yeah, there we are. What is going on? Okay. Yeah, let me know how you are and that you're here. Um, I've had a very busy spring. I was really, really fortunate to be able to go to Barcelona with the VO Euro retreat put on by J. Michael Collins and his amazing wife, Anna. Um, and it was a glorious time. I'd heard about these trips for a very long time and really had no idea what they were like. And it always seemed like, really, everybody's going to Europe to learn voiceover things, and it just kind of didn't make any sense to me. And now it makes total sense to me. Um, it's an amazing trip. I just have to say, J. Michael Collins and his team really put together an extraordinary week full of really good instructors and coaches, if I do say so myself. I mean, I bring what I bring, but I was really impressed with the other coaches that were there and the quality of the training, and actually the extent of the training. Um, oh, is my computer being not nice? I would hate that so much. It feels like it's a little laggy, but you tell me. And also, please tell me. Hi, David. Your first time. That's fantastic. Welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Um, you'll let me know if you can hear me, right? My sound is a little strange. So anyway, I'm so happy that you're here. Um, so the curriculum itself at this was really quite dense, like there was a lot going on, and a lot of coaching, and it was really good. And yet, we all had time for a little bit of relaxation and seeing, the beauty that is Barcelona. And Barcelona is a beautiful city and so manageable and so friendly and just beautiful people and everything. So I got to do that. And it had been my first time to Europe in 12 years. Um, and everything went smoothly. My flights were great, blah, 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 all the things. And then I came home and I went to visit, like 3 days later, I went to visit friends in Louisiana, and I had never been to Louisiana. I went to Lafayette, Louisiana, and, went on a swamp tour because that's what you do in Lafayette, Louisiana. And I met up with some alligators, and that was really interesting. And then I got back from that, and then I had a dear, dear friend come and visit me and was with me for a week. So I've just been on this whirlwind spring. And so now there's a little bit of a reprieve. And here we are back with Facebook Live for Trust and Be Brave. Um, oh, good. I'm so glad that you can hear me. That's fantastic. Um, so today we're going to talk about directions. I get when I do coaching with people, um, people are, quite perplexed sometimes about the directions that are on a piece of copy. And it can throw you off, and it can make you, when you're sitting kind of alone in your booth and you're wondering, is this for me? And how do I do that? And what does that spec even mean? And am I really right for this copy? And all the things. So I'm here to decipher some of that for you, and really to, you know, um, really to help you rest assured that if the copy dropped into your inbox, it's likely for you. You know, it's something that that you're intended to read. And I think when it isn't something that you're intended to read, it's glaringly obvious, right? So then it becomes a matter of how do I interpret this spec and how do I apply it to my read and to myself here in the booth. So that is what we're going to do. I also want to address the fact that I'm standing in front of a black curtain, which heretofore I've been in my guest room, and I've decided to use my third bedroom as an on-camera studio, and I'm still getting the thing, you know, squared away. So at the moment, I just have this black curtain up, so it looks kind of like I'm about to, open the curtain and reveal a circus, but there's no circus back there. There's just a blank white wall. So anyway, that's what's going on behind me. Hopefully it'll be better in the future, but here we are today. Let's see. Genevieve, how are you, honey? I'm happy to see your name there. And I'm so happy to know that you're going to One Voice. I'm excited to be there. All right, so let's get into some of these directions. And I wrote down a few that I think are, bring up common question marks, And so if you, along the way, if you think of things here, just go ahead and write them in the comments and I will address them for you. Does that sound good? All right. So here are a few. I want to start with celebrity prototypes. Okay. So I get these a lot. I don't, everybody's different. I'm obviously a middle-aged female, so I'm going to get a particular type of copy, and I'm going to get particular prototypes when it comes to celebrities. So if you are, a 30-year-old male, you're not going to get the prototype that says Sigourney Weaver, Meryl Streep, and Viola Davis. You're going to get, prototypes in your own age group and your own type, right? So nonetheless, when I look, so apply this as you may, right? Apply this as it makes sense to you. Is that, I don't know what's happening. Okay, I'm sorry. It's very odd. So when I get a spec like that says we want like a Sigourney Weaver type, or we want Meryl Streep or Viola Davis. Well, all of those women have distinctly different voices. So we can conclude from that it's never about sounding like them. It's never about imitating, or trying to mimic the sound of a person's voice, unless it specifically says we want a voice match, right? This is Viola Davis's campaign. She can't be here for 3 months because she's off shooting a film, and we need a sound-alike. That's completely different. When it's just a prototype, right? What we have to look for is the commonality of those celebrities. What do all those women have in common? Okay, all those women are middle-aged or older. They all have a piece of theatrical training in their life, right? In their background and what they do. They're film actors, right? And what do they sound like when we listen to them? When I look at those, I go, oh, they want a middle-aged woman who is wise, who's had experience in life and knows what she's talking about, that you can trust, right? And who I would consider to be an authority in whatever subject they're talking about, because they've been on the planet long enough to be an authority, right? So now I can take away the celebrity names and go and not be intimidated by the fact that it says, Viola Davis and Meryl Streep and Sigourney Weaver. And I can say, all right, Kay Bess has been on the planet just as long as those women have, maybe shy a couple of years, but I'm still in the same age category. I've lived on the planet. I've had experience. I I have learned enough, I have failed enough, I have picked myself up enough to have gleaned wisdom from my life experience. So I already embody those traits. They're already mine. There's nothing I have to do to my voice to embody those characteristics. It's just who I am. So now I'm free. Now I can read this piece of copy as Kay Bess, as the person that I am, in the body that I have, with the mind that I have, and I can read it. And that's how I approach a celebrity prototype. Okay. I had a dear coaching client a few years ago bring me a piece of copy that said, we want a mom with a teen, mom of a teen, concerned about her daughter's well-being, right? And she's like, I'm just kind of lost, And so she's reading the copy, and she's very stiff, and like she's trying to sort of overly exert care and concern. And I stopped her and I said, if you don't mind my asking, how old are you? She said, I'm in my mid-50s. I said, you have kids, right? She said, yeah. She said, I have one. And I said, do you have a son or a daughter? She said, a daughter. I said, how old is your daughter? She's a teenager. Like, she was actually the SPEC. Like, that was her. She's a woman in her 50s with a teenage daughter about whom she's very concerned. And so it was like, okay, there's nothing you have to do except be you and read this as if you have a teenage daughter that you're concerned about. And she was like, boing, like, aha, she had this big aha moment, like, oh, I can let go. Yeah, you can let go. We need to remember who we are, and why we got the copy in the first place. A lot of times we already embody the traits that are being described to us in the spec, right? So, no, Genevieve, there's no grand prize back there. There might be one day, but not today. So, with regard to celebrity prototypes, remember who you are. And if you're a 28-year-old male, like just out of graduate school, and that's the spec, like, you have the experience that you have, all I want to say about that really is just remember who you are, and that you embody many of the things that are already there in the prototype, and you don't have to think so hard about the spec, right? Okay, so the next one is when we get something that is considered a brand imaging spot, or a lot of times you see the word anthem. It's an anthem spot, okay? And that usually means that it has particular production values. The writing tends to be stellar, the music is glorious, the visuals are, a cinematographer's dream, right? So all of those elements, we know it's going to be like a production, and so then I think we mistakenly get the idea that means my voice has to be anthemic, right? That we have to put on a voice that is, grand and theatrical, like we're standing at the edge of a stage reciting Shakespeare and trying to reach the back, row. And nothing could be further from the truth. The adjective, anthemic, really is a descriptor of the commercial itself. It is not a descriptor of the voiceover. And this really is my area of expertise in what I teach commercially, right? That there are three parts to a commercial like this. There's the voiceover, there's the picture, and there's the music. And we have to let the picture and music do their job. And they are really the ones who are providing that sense of anthem, of grandness to the spot. And so what the voiceover needs to do is lay back, right? And give the music and picture their due. Give them room, give them their due. And so what we do in a commercial like that is we get quieter. We don't get boring. We don't get dull. We get quieter and more intimate right? And then we're not at odds with the picture and the music, right? So when you see the word anthem or anthemic, think to yourself, that is not a direction for me. That is a descriptor of the commercial itself. And in an anthem spot, I want to lay back and get quiet and support the spot with language. So you're going to get closer up to the microphone and you're going to get quieter and you're going to get less musical. You're not going to be flat. You're going to get less musical so that you allow the music to be musical, right? Does that make sense? So the key thing about that is when you see anthem or anthemic or brand or image or any of those words like that, those descriptors are not for the voiceover. They are for the commercial itself. And then you have to remember your role in it, which is to support with language and get quiet and close up on the mic. Okay? Let's see what's next. Let me see if there are any questions about that one. Nope. Okay. Okay, here's another ridiculously irritating spec for a commercial. When a producer or a casting director gives you an entire backstory for a commercial announcer. Like, when you see that, just forget it. You know, you don't need a backstory for a commercial announcer. You don't. What you need is that sort of fundamental thing of 25 to 45, easygoing, non-announcer, and we'll get to that one in a second. But you don't need this is the person who does blah 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 blah. It becomes convoluted at a certain point, and it becomes too much information, and it confuses us, right? So when I see those kinds of things, I look for descriptors that apply to how do I want to say this? Like to the overall nature of the voiceover, right? If they say we want a big voice, or they say we want something a little higher in the register, or we want some texture. Those are the things that I will look for, rather than get too bogged down in a history for a commercial announcer that doesn't matter. It's a little over the top. Now that's obviously different if you're doing an animation audition or a video game audition or a character in perhaps a radio dialogue or something like that, where you're playing. I love auditioning for Geico. Every once in a while I book one of those things, but they're always character driven. And I just love them so much because they're like little vignettes. And so you are actually playing a character. And so sure, I might indulge a little bit of information about that, but it really just needs to be like, you're a dentist and you're really happy to see your clients. Like, that's all I need, right? So take whatever little piece in the big description and backstory, take whatever tiny little piece that speaks to you and use that. That's all. You don't have to get bogged down in any of the gnarly details of somebody who just went overboard in their character description of an announcer, right? It's overkill. Okay. All right. I'm checking. Okay. Everything's still good, everybody? Okay. Just want to make sure. Let me know. Okay. So real person. Okay. As if voice actors, aren't real people. We want a real person. So I understand this, and there is, and I hear it all the time, I'll be coaching a voice actor and they'll say, so I'm doing this, and I really like blah, blah, blah. And so I'm thinking I have this piece of copy and I want to read it, and I'm thinking, and I go, okay, let's take a crack. So go ahead and start. And they go, once upon a time, there was a goat that lived on a hill. And it's like, whoa, what happened to your voice? What happened to you? Where did you go? Right? It's a really important thing to remember. Nobody wants a voiceover voice. We want you. We want your voice. We want who you are. Now, are there particular technical parameters, that we need to apply because we are voice actors and we are in a booth and we are speaking into a microphone? All those things are true. So we do know we do have to know how to use the mic and how to approach it and all those things. And we need to know how to speed up or slow down and still sound, again, like a regular, real person. But we have to toss away this notion because it's very rarely employed anymore in voiceover that we have to have a sound and we have to put on a voice. We don't. We just want you. We just want what you sound like, So, one of the tricks to that is to record at least your first couple of times on a piece that asks for a real person, is to record without your headphones on, because we get really enamored with the sound of our voice in our ears. I do. Everybody does. It never goes away. I don't think it ever goes away. It's like we put on our headphones and we go, ooh, don't I sound fabulous? It never goes away, but we have to learn how to put it away. We need to learn how to set it aside, and kind of say, yeah, nobody cares how beautiful your voice sounds. We want to know that you're communicating with us honestly. That's really what we're after. And I'm telling you, when my daughter was 3 years old, I took her into the booth for the first time, and she's like talking to me, and she was a very active kid, right? And so I had her on my arm, and I'm like, come in the booth with me, and so she came in, and she couldn't be bothered, she just was like, get me out of here, right? And so she's right in front of the microphone, and I put the headphones on. She's talking, Mom, leave me alone. I put the headphones on, and she goes, leave me alone. Leave me alone. Oh, like she was completely enamored of the sound of her own voice, right? It's natural. It's like, oh, what is that? Like the human voice amplified in my ears. So it's normal, it's natural, but we have to learn to set it aside. So then the other thing is that we do in this real person scenario is that we end up trying to make it sound real by emphasizing words that ought not be emphasized. And let me just tell you that is the wrong approach. Sentences are created to be understood. They are words strung together to communicate something. And that's our job. That is job one. Communicate the message in the lines that you're reading. And so, my sister, I have all these anecdotes. My goodness, they're just all flying out from my pockets. My sister and I, when we were young, I was probably 6 or 7 and she was 9 or 10. And we were driving through Kentucky or something with my mom. And there was a billboard. That the sign said, banking is important. That was the slogan. Banking is important. It was, the early 70s, so it wasn't really fancy advertising, but it was a local bank. Banking is important, choose the right one, or something like that. But my sister and I saw this sign, banking is important, and we started putting emphasis on different words. I was destined to be a voice actor. So we would say, banking is important. 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 So we would just change the syllable, And as we did that, we recognized that there were certain things that, in our little heads, right? But I remembered that. And I was like, wow, if you hit certain syllables, it doesn't make sense anymore. And that same rule applies. So we have to stop putting emphasis on words just for the sake of changing the emphasis. We always have to keep the meaning of the sentence, right? Now, do we change the pitch of things? Sure. Do we change, like sometimes we go up on sentences, we use upspeak. Sometimes we speak without a lot of music in the read. Sometimes we speak with a lot of music in the read, right? Those are different, and different people do different things like that. So, you experiment with real person based on, those kinds of things, and also at the root of it as well, who you've imagined you're talking to, because that will always color how you speak, right? And how you emphasize and whether or not you sound real, right? So if I have a clear image in my head of who I'm speaking to, then I'm bound to sound real. If I love the coffee that I'm drinking, which I do, I love this. It's not really coffee. It's like mushroom coffee, everyday dose. I love this stuff, right? So if I'm sitting down and I invite a friend over for coffee, and I make her an espresso because I have a lot of espresso, but I make myself this. It's like, and she goes, "What are you drinking?" And I go, "I'm drinking everyday dose. It's awesome. I love it so much. There's very little caffeine in it. It's kind of earthy tasting because there's a mushroom blend in it. It tastes really great with cream. It tastes great by itself. Like, listen to me. I'm doing a commercial for Everyday Dose, and I'm talking to my friend, right? Now, what if I was talking to a friend who was like, "What crap are you drinking?" And I go, "It's Everyday Dose. It's great. It doesn't have very much caffeine. It tastes great with cream in it. Right? You should try it. It won't make you so jittery and irritating." Like, how is the person talking to me? How am I communicating with them? Relationship is at the heart of every read, even commercial reads, every read, even medical narration, right? So if you firmly establish the relationship in your head, who you're talking to and why, and what they've said to you that prompts you to speak, then you're going to sound like a real person, right? Because you're not in your head going, "I'm making a commercial." Nope. I'm having a conversation with someone and I'm trying to tell them about this product and that it could change their life, right? So that's how you approach real person stuff. What real person are you talking to? Who is that, right? Um, let's see. So here is one from you, Genevieve. Um, so so you asked me on the post and said it's always hard finding a balance when both enthusiastic and conversational are given, right? So I want to say to you that enthusiastic and conversational are not mutually exclusive. They're not. I can be having a conversation with my best friend just as I pretended I was doing with Everyday Dose, right? And I can be super excited about it because, like, I am a coffee fiend. I'm a coffee nut, right? I used to drink 8 espressos a day, 8 shots a day. I don't drink any now, none. I just drink this, right? So I can be enthusiastic about this thing. I can be quietly enthusiastic, right? I can be in a quiet place where I can be in the library with my friend drinking a thing out of my secret stash, right? Because you're not supposed to have coffee in the library or whatever. But she could be like, "What are you drinking?" I can go, "I'm drinking Everyday Dose. It's fantastic. I love it so much. It has very, very little caffeine. It has a little, so I don't get a headache, but it doesn't have very much. But it tastes really good and it's super satisfying, and it has enough of a coffee flavor that it just makes me happy," right? So I'm enthusiastic, and I'm conversational, right? So I think the trick is that we don't want to think of those two things as being mutually exclusive. They're not. If they say, "We want you to be loud and quiet," that's impossible. you know, um, we want you to be angry but friendly. What? You can't really do that. Um, But enthusiastic and conversational, absolutely. Conversational does not mean boring. It does not mean I don't care, you know. Um, I think sometimes when I instruct and I say, look, that Procter and Gamble read of the 70s, 80s, and 90s is kind of done. What I mean is, I wouldn't talk to my friend like this. I'm drinking everyday dose. It's delicious and it has very little caffeine. That is not a conversational tone, right? That's announcer sounding, and that's the thing that we need to like put off, right? It's like, what are you drinking? Oh, I'm drinking everyday dose. It's delicious. I love it so much. You know, I trust that you can hear the difference. Um, so those are, I'm a real person, really, right? I know exactly. Um, let's see. Don't put the emphasis. That's right. Don't put the emphasis on the wrong words. Yeah. On the wrong syllable. Yeah. Genevieve, my mom was an English teacher. We had all these kinds of jokes in my household and growing up. It was kind of funny. So those are the ones that I had on my list. Is there any other that you want me to address? A natural non-announcer. Again, I think that's sort of covered in the real person category. Um, I think we just need to remember that what we're offering as an announcer is information. Um, and that's all we need to do is convey the information. Just the facts, ma'am, right? That's a phrase I use a lot. It dates me with Dragnet and all of that. But just the facts. Just give me the facts. At Fidelity, we can give you a rate of 4.45% on your savings. It's just a fact, right? Um, Come in today and meet an advisor, and we'll help you with your retirement so you can feel really good about it. Just the facts. Um, and a lot of this, when you're learning it or when you need to relearn it, because again, I certainly go through this, um, and I need every once in a while to be reminded. You know, we just we're just communicating facts, right? And our level of enthusiasm, our level of engagement will be determined by the use of our imagination and who we see that we're talking to, and that we actually believe that we're talking to them, you know. So that's at the root of it. Um, let's see. I saw something about a big bold announcer. Um, David Phillips, you were born in Lafayette. Okay, am I saying it right? I got there. This is what happened. I got on the I got on the parking spot bus to park my car at in Nashville to go to my flight. And I fly a lot, and so the driver, we know each other. His name's Matt. And he said, "Where are you going this time?" And I said, "Lafayette, Louisiana." And no, I said Louisiana, and he said, "Where?" And I said, "Lafayette." And he said, he just turned to me without just in a beat, and he goes, "It's Lafayette." And I go, "Oh, it is?" He goes, "Yeah, I got people there," which was great. So then I got there, and my friends were like, "Yeah, it's not Lafayette." Is that right? Is that your experience too? Um, had a couple of really good dinners in Lafayette, so that was fun. And I think I said I was on a swamp tour. That was actually pretty interesting. So let's see, big bold announcers. Um, Announcer isn't big and bold. No, not necessarily, Genevieve. An announcer is just the one conveying the information. But it's only big and bold if it says we want a big, bold announcer. That will be attached to announcer copy, because big and bold is no longer the standard. Big and bold is no longer the standard. That's not the default. Authoritative can be the default, and then you ask yourself, what's authoritative? And then you think, well, if I hear Viola Davis on a spot for a financial institution, there isn't much Viola Davis has to do to sound authoritative, because of who she is, the life she's lived, how old she is, the experience she's had, right? And uh, that's why producers, commercial makers, they tend to use older people on financial stuff because they have experience and wisdom in life, supposedly. Um, a lot of us in our older years, we we have a lot of catching up to do with all the financial mistakes that we made, but that's part of what gives us wisdom. So yeah, big and bold. Do not associate big and bold with announcer unless it specifically says big and bold. And if it says big and bold, it's probably not going to arrive on your doorstep, Genevieve, and it's not going to arrive on mine. It's not. It's going to arrive, at somebody else's, and probably a mail for big and bold. So, okay. Yeah, David, getting out of a radio DJ delivery is a thing. It is a thing, but it can be done. I know several people who started in radio and have had very successful careers in voiceover, and it just takes diligence and constant constant awareness and attention, paying attention, because I think once you get into the particular rhythm and groove of a DJ read, that will become your default. And I'll say this too. I did promo for years and years. I still do promo, but I did a lot of promo in the 2000s, and it became so commonplace for me to do promo that my breathing changed. How I breathe when I read changed, and I took a audiobook narration class from Pat Fraley 20 some years ago, 25 years ago. And I'm a good reader. I'm a good sight reader. I'm a good storyteller, all those things. And he was like, "Whoa, stop." I'm like, "What?" And he said, you're gasping for breath. Like, just breathe easy. Like you're reading a book to your daughter. And I was like, "Whoa." And he played it for me, and I had begun to breathe that way. I'd go before I would read, because that's how you breathe in promo, right? You take a huge breath because there's no time. It's, there's 35 seconds worth of copy that you have to read in 30 seconds. And so there's no time to breathe, so you have to take a big tank of breath at the beginning and roll. So we all fall into our habits, and coming from radio is just a particular type of habit that needs to be undone. And you undo it with training and practice and all those things. It's totally doable, but it will require your diligent attention. So there you go. All right. Anything else, my friends? Otherwise, I'm going to let you go. As always, if you're getting to this not live, feel free to post questions in the comment section, and I would be happy to address them. And feel free to get a hold of me anytime. I will see you. I will see you online in the group. And again, please take advantage of all the things that are in the group, asking questions and asking for help and all that. And as ever, feel free to message me if you ever need anything. All right. That's it, my friends. And I'll see you next month for oh, Genevieve, I see. Is it hard to switch between genres? Say if you do a lot of automotive, then trying to do narration. it's like becoming a an athlete, who's good at a couple different sports. Do you remember when Michael Jordan left basketball and he played baseball for a while? He played in the professional baseball league for a while, and I mean he's one of the most extraordinary athletes that's ever been born, right? And he was having a little trouble with his baseball and everybody gave him grief, but it's like, good God, he's been playing basketball. Like, he's got to acclimate to baseball, which are completely different moves, right? But he's an extraordinary athlete and he did just fine. But it's like you learn in your training. It's like becoming it's like doing Ironman. you know you're a swimmer, you're a runner, and you're a cyclist, and you just learn to do all those things, and you build your capacity to go back and forth doing them by going back and forth and doing them. That's how you do it. You do it on the job, you know? So is it hard? It could be challenging. I think it can be challenging sometimes. I think you have to consciously be able to shift gears. And again, all of it is practice. Nothing in voiceover is, not doable. Do you know what I mean? It's not impossible. It's just, how bad do you want to do it? And are you willing to do the work? That's really it. So, I feel like I grew up at a time in voiceover where we just got thrown to the wolves. I never took a promo class before I did a promo. I never took a narration class before I did narration. You learn as you go. You learn as you go, and you get better as you go. When I think about my first couple of promos, it's like they weren't all that good, but it was just the time that we were in, and I was the person there, and so I got the job. So you, excuse me. So you learn as you do. So not impossible, and ultimately, if you're doing a lot of it, it ceases to become hard. So, all right, that's it, my friends, and I will see you again online, and we'll be back for another live in 4 weeks or so. All right. Have a good one. Happy summer.